Uh, Good afternoon. I would not take a very long time. Though I have been introduced to be from Mytrah Energy. I am today representing the wind industry as Secretary for the AP chapter of Indian Wind Power Association. But just to give you a brief about what we are. Mytrah Energy India Limited is an AIM listed, London Stock Exchange listed company, and we have 550 megawatts of operating wind assets across the country, out of which 130 megawatt is in Andhra Pradesh. And we have another 100 megawatt under construction, which will be hitting the grid very soon, probably in the next 7-8 months. So I think we would be one of the largest in the state of Andhra Pradesh as far as wind is concerned. And we are also looking in a big way to get into the solar market. Of course, we are yet to get into solar. So, opportunities, this is a slide about the Indian Wind Power Association. We comprise of manufacturers, we comprise of all the small and big generators, and we have been on the forefront of everything. And fortunately this year we also have a representation on the SAC of APERC, and we are being heard and we are being listened to properly. So I think we can expect some good and favorable policies to fall in place. And this is a general statistic about the India's wind capacity installation. If you see, we have touched almost 23.5 gigawatt of wind power capacity addition. And of course, 2011-12 happened to be the peak year where we touched a capacity of around 3.2 gigawatt. And the last year, the last financial year, we have touched almost 2.3 gigawatt. And of course, Tamil Nadu takes the #1 position as far as addition of share is concerned. And of late, we see AP and MP getting onto the wind capacity installation map. Advantages of wind power, yes, we have achieved grid parity, and it's competitive with any of the conventional forces now. And we are not dependent on any subsidies, and we have a highly scalable option and shorter construction cycles. And the greatest advantage that we offer is that we come with a fixed tariff for the next 25 years. So irrespective of whatever it is, there is no variation or change in the power price. And of course, the Energy Secretary, and we are a matured market. I myself have put close to 2 decades of experience in wind industry. So it's a more matured market. So the vagaries and variabilities are almost ruled out. And of course, we are a green source of energy, so there's no harmful effect on the environment. And as far as wind power potential in AP is concerned, at the 80-meter hub height, the evaluated potential is close to 14,500 megawatts. And as of now, we are only a 1016 megawatt of installed capacity is what we have. And most of the wind resource assessment for the state of Andhra Pradesh has been done mostly by, of course, initially it started with CWET, but subsequently it had been a major activity that almost all the private people like us have actually done. And of course, major wind district regions are Anantapur, Kurnool, Chittoor, Kadapa, Nellore and Vizag. Nellore and Vizag, we have slightly lesser capacities, especially Vizag, though it has capacities. It may not be feasible for us to go and do a project due to the real estate and the tourism importance there. And the regulatory scenario in AP, I think this becomes very important for us. The feed-in tariff in the year 2004 was set at 310. There was no much of capacity additions, and subsequently the government came up with a policy during the year 2008. There were some relief that was given on land and other issues, and even on wheeling and banking. And subsequently, the Honorable Commission has revised the tariff to 3 rupee 50 paisa in the year 2009. So there was no sizable addition as far as the capacities is concerned. And if you see till March 2015, till 2014, what we have added is 770 megawatt has been added. Ever since there has been a revision in the tariff from this 350 to 4 rupees 70 paisa. So in the last I think I would say 3 years, 2012 to 2014, what we have added is almost 770 megawatts of capacity. I would not repeat this highlights of wind power policy. Yes, by and large, the policy making had been a consultative process. I think we are extremely thankful to the government of Andhra Pradesh. Unlike the earlier years where there was a policy which hit us and subsequently we used to go back and represent on the changes and modifications to be made, this time it had been a consultative process. I think probably that was the reason why we have by and large a policy which has made all of us happy, whether it is manufacturers or whether it is independent power producers like me or even the small time people. There are some still minor irritants which we are taking it up with the government, but I would say fairly it had been a very good policy. Yes, now the government of AP plans to have around 4,000 megawatt of capacities added, and to my knowledge, according to a recent review this year, all of us together have promised around 1100 megawatts of capacity to be added. And since we had been into the market for quite some time, and since in terms of land acquisition we buy it on a footprint basis, unlike our solar brothers who do it on a contiguous basis, so we were able to fairly execute the projects with minor delays here and there, but still we were able to execute. So hopefully we should be hitting this 1100 megawatts of mark this year, coming year also. And this is our commitment to the government of Andhra Pradesh as an industry, as an association. And now I think what needs to fall in place is after the policy, I think the tariff is something which needs to fall in place. The Honorable Commission has also been very proactive, and good thing is they have come out with the regulations, and 30th of this month happens to be the last date for us to give our comments or views on the regulations. By and large, we find them to be in line with what the national, CRC has been following. So there are some minor issues that we are representing as an association, and I am sure they would definitely be taken into consideration. Yes, still the major issue that we have is on the evacuation side of it. In order to connect all these capacities, AP Transco has actually proposed a green energy corridor, and they have also awarded all these contracts, and the works are also happening at a faster pace. But AP Transco has to ensure that there would be no delay in the connectivity, and we have also paid huge connectivity fee and huge bank guarantees for getting all these connectivity permissions. So if there is a delay in commissioning of their substations from AP Transco, we would be bleeding actually. So we have actually given a security to show our seriousness and commitment to AP Transco, whereas if AP Transco doesn't reciprocate a similar seriousness, we would be on the receiving end, and probably it would be a big hit on the project financials. For a long time we have been requesting AP Transco to come out with a system where we can either get into a JV or they allow us to build the substation or the evacuation infrastructure, and whatever they decide as a reasonable cost to be reimbursed in whatsoever mechanism, they can actually do it. I think states like Rajasthan have actually come out with an order where they said that beyond the pooling station, whatever is the infrastructure cost that has to be incurred, if the developer builds it on behalf of the utility or the STU, on a project to project basis, they can actually consider it and determine a tariff or probably address it as a separate issue. So I think some kind of a modular policy of this nature would actually help us, because we have extensive facilities and we have extensive technology and know-how to actually build lines and transmission systems on a very faster pace. If you go back and recall today morning Energy Secretary's discussion, he has been citing ROW issues. As private developers, we have little less constraints than the government in terms of compensation and getting things done. So we are able to push our things very fastly because our procedures are cut short and we are able to do things at a faster pace. So well, this is something which the Transco needs to seriously consider us. Yes, land, we were one of the states to have an excellent land policy where we had advanced position. It went away for a little while. Now it's back. But I think the entire bureaucracy and the setup at the districts have forgot how they used to do this earlier. So I think we need to actually push them and say that please do this on a priority. These people are going to add these capacities. Sir, our entire renewable capacity addition of this 1100 megawatt entirely depends on most of the land that has to come from the revenue department. And yes, the renewable power purchase obligation in line with NAPCC is what we have been asking for quite some time. I think that would be of a great help for we as well as the solar project developers. And the recently announced wind policy has actually talked about according an industry status. So what do they actually mean by industry status? Because in terms of normally set up industries, they have classified them into micro and small, medium and large. So what is the eligibility criteria? So there needs to be a lot of guidelines that need to actually come up on what basis and how they are going to accord this industry status to wind power projects. And the rest of the points which I have listed out as a part of my presentation are something which the government is considering as a part of their new industrial policy to be announced very shortly. So I think since we are given an industry status, the same has to be made applicable. Of course, things like reimbursement of stamp duty and other thing, and of course they are going to give a 25% subsidy to green energy oriented projects. So I think these are all the things that they will have to consider, and of course there needs to be a policy for wind solar hybrid system. Yes, as rightly said, we have the lands available as a part of our wind power projects. So we will be the first fellows very interested in getting into this. As Indian Wind Power Association, we have also given our submission as a part of this discussion paper to the Honorable Commission, and we will be at your disposal, sir, for any further clarifications that you would require in what we have represented in terms of wind solar hybrid policy. That's all. Thank you from our side. Thank you.